Now we turn to the topic of enabling, which refers to patterns within close relationships that contribute to problem behaviors or make it easier for that behavior to continue. Most enabling behaviors come from loving, well-intentioned family members, friends, or partners who don't see that their acts of love strengthen the problems, or they see it, but are emotionally trapped or feel coerced, not seeing any alternatives. We need to avoid these traps and not reinforce dysfunctional behaviors. There are two main types of enabling. The first, we call the love trap, and the other is called the coercion trap. The love trap is when your efforts to help actually contribute to the problem rather than truly solve it, usually because you do things that help the person avoid adversity or distress in the short term. Usually, the person helping views the struggling person as fragile or incapable, and therefore feel compelled to provide extra high levels of help to avoid the person failing, feeling unloved, being deprived of what they want or need, and they are trying to prevent self-injury or suicide. These enabling behaviors are often driven by fear or guilt. One example of the love trap is when you give extra attention, comfort, support, or encouragement during or after extreme emotion episodes, which increases how often these emotion episodes happen, or their intensity. One of our teens often told his parents about his intolerable PTSD reactions, panic attacks, and self-injury feelings. Very often one parent would comfort him by coming home early and the other parent would comfort him by sleeping with him. Another teen got physical affection from her mother immediately during emotional meltdowns, which was very loud crying, extreme hopeless statements, and suicidal escape comments. You try to help your teen in these ways because they need you to get through their emotional difficulty, and they desperately need you to support them in these ways because they depend on it. Similarly, when physical restraints are used to stop self-injury, it increases the frequency of self-injury, like head banging, in autistic children. They need to learn to tolerate these situations and emotions by practicing tolerating them. They build emotion regulation skills by practicing the skills their therapist is teaching them, but they won't practice them if they rely on you going out of your way to support them. Another type of love trap is when you help your teen avoid adversity or distress, which prevents them from ever learning how to handle distressing situations. Instead, you need to start encouraging them to act opposite to their avoidance urges. This means that you need to avoid taking them out of school or other stressful activities early, even when they demand it. Similarly, it's important to avoid psychiatric hospitalizations when it functions as an escape from their stressful life situations. You rescue your teen because they need you to rescue them, and they desperately need you to rescue them because you have rescued them so many times. Another type of love trap is when you frequently correct their negative statements with reassurance, compliments, praise, and expressions of love, which strengthens their self-hatred and shame. Another type of love trap is when you frequently provide too much help when they express feeling helpless, overwhelmed, and afraid. These emotions get worse when you solve their problems or do hard things for them, rather than helping them practice skills for managing challenges on their own. Parents do this when they feel like they have to save their teen from intolerable distress. Treating them as incapable or fragile contributes to them staying that way. This problem most often happens when parents provide help immediately after helpless, avoidant, or suicidal behaviors or self-injury, or if our help is excessive, like when we do more than they do. Instead, offer to help them be assertive with others, rather than you influence others for them, help them get a job, rather than you pay for everything, teach them to drive, rather than be their chauffeur, and teach them problem-solving skills. Another type of love trap is when you protect your teen from the natural negative consequences of their behaviors that might otherwise deter future problem behaviors. Allowing your child to stay home from school, making it an excused absence because he hasn't studied for a test, is enabling avoidance or irresponsibility. Similarly, it is enabling to call the school to tell them that your teen is sick when they are actually just too depressed or anxious to go. Instead, let them face the natural consequences from their school, like having to attend Saturday school. The spouse who makes excuses for his hungover partner is enabling alcohol abuse. A friend who lends money to a drug addict to pay for food is enabling that addiction. Canceling therapy because your teen procrastinated doing their schoolwork encourages homework procrastination to continue. The coercion trap is when your teen's intimidating or stressful behaviors force you to give your teen what they want. Very often, they are aggressive or pestering behaviors, but sometimes threats of self-injury or suicide. Parents give in due to their fear, guilt, or fatigue. Try to resist giving in, which may require you getting more support from the other parent. Rather than trying to talk your way out of it, you may need to walk away, and you may need to plan ahead by protecting yourself and your valuables, in case there is further escalation or retaliation. You may need to give consequences later by withholding warmth or favors after aggression. Tell them you will only grant further requests after they do a sufficient repair. All the examples we just reviewed are examples of dysfunctional behaviors getting reinforced by others. Negative behaviors get positive reactions. Extinction is when you stop reinforcing their dysfunctional behaviors. They no longer get more what they want or need after their dysfunctional behaviors. Acting helpless, overwhelmed, unsafe no longer works. Demands, pestering, and threats no longer work. Their brain learns, I now get more of what I want when I act skillfully. And unfortunately, it's very predictable that behaviors that have been strongly reinforced usually escalate further when reinforcement stops. Their emotional brain is fighting to keep the benefits of the status quo, so the emotion episodes happen more often, or become more intense, which creates even more pressure to give what they are used to getting. These are called extinction bursts. If you consistently hold your ground, their brain will eventually learn that those emotional behaviors will no longer influence your behaviors. There will be no benefit. Getting past this reinforcement problem is called extinction. Unfortunately, things usually get worse before they get better. Often there are a handful of extinction bursts that you have to endure over a few months until you get past this problem. Here's what to do. First, ask yourself, what is their dysfunctional emotion trying to make me do? What message is their dysregulated brain trying to tell me right now? Here are a few examples. Please help me avoid this. It's too uncomfortable. Please do this for me. I am helpless or incapable. Listen to me. Take my concern seriously. Reassure me that it's okay. Reassure me that I am okay. Don't let me be alone. I can't stand it. Leave me alone. If you want to be free from these traps, in those moments of escalation, don't do what their dysfunctional emotion is trying to make you do, or at least do as little as possible. Instead, suggest how they can more skillfully respond to their distress or to the situation, or how to better influence you. When they do extreme things to show they are fragile or helpless, and they have gotten too much attention or support, we correct it by adjusting the amounts and timing of the attention and support rather than withhold it entirely. We want to give much more attention and support when they skillfully communicate their distress or needs. You may also need to spend much more time with them doing positive activities in general, if they have been feeling deprived of positive attention. When they demand your support or demand you rescue them, give a gentle and compassionate explanation why you are withholding, and consider a compromise if they meet you halfway. Soon after self-injury or suicide comments, validate only slightly, and do much more after waiting at least 24 hours. During moderate aggression, validate only slightly and try to redirect them. Something like, I'm sorry this is so difficult, you are definitely raising an important issue that I have to better address, but I can't unless you communicate more gently, stick to the facts, don't make assumptions about my thoughts and feelings, and show me you understand the other side. Can you give it another try? If they don't improve their approach, walk away, and if you can't, look away and say nothing, as much as possible until they show improved behaviors. During extreme aggression, it's best to completely ignore the aggression by walking away, and if you can't, look away and say nothing, as much as possible. Don't validate, give affection, or have heart-to-heart talks with your teen during school avoidance or severe isolation. Getting free from enabling traps is often a very hard process, so it's crucial that both parents strongly collaborate with each other and their therapists. Hang in there,